Hello, welcome to Alexa. Hi, this is from Alexa Takes a Look, and she's agreed to have a chat with me. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much.
Okay, I saw a video saying you have a birthday or anniversary that you're celebrating.
Yes, so my channel just hit a year a couple of days ago, and so we were celebrating that on my channel with a Q&A video, and yeah, it was really
Yeah,
nice.
it was super useful for me because of I was just like, oh, Q&A. The only problem was I was thinking I don't want to repeat all of the same questions, but there's some things that I want to touch on. But 1 year and but you haven't been following Ren all of that time.
No, I just started with my first video about 2 weeks ago. I got a request
Okay.
on Patreon, and it was from a member who doesn't usually request other things besides one specific group. And so I was very intrigued at why this
Yeah.
person requested Ren. And so I was like, okay, well, I have some time. I can do it. And so I jumped in headfirst to that whole world, and it shocked me.
Yeah. And so is it just the one song you've still done or have you done more now?
Now I have done two, and I'm going to be
Okay.
recording a third probably tomorrow. Mhm.
Right. Okie dokie. And I noticed the fans have said to me to do reaction videos, but I feel I am super new to that. I don't feel like I react on my face. I feel like I just kind of stare at the screen
Mhm.
and it's just so much information coming in. But you are quite expressive. And although there was a point where you just stopped and you were just like, oh, okay. I thought that was really fun. I kind of like the fact that you stopped at some point.
Yeah, well, so all of my reactions that are from my face are things that I can't control. I've been told since I
Yeah.
was little that I always wear my emotions on my face. I cannot
Yeah.
hide how I'm feeling because it's always on my face. And so when reaction videos started becoming a thing, I was like, you know what? Maybe I can try it. Everybody always says I'm like super expressive. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's so many directions I want to go. Where do I go next? I'm going to go there. Um, the reason I hesitated, I want to talk about how the fans have treated you, but we can come back to that in a minute. But in terms of you being expressive, I've been told similar things. But one of the things is I've lived overseas quite a bit, and you've also got different histories. And I thought, oh, I wonder whether it's like a natural fit in that you do have to communicate and in a way people respond to you because there's some sort of congruency, isn't there, of okay, I'm being clear with my words but I'm also being clear with my tone and my body language and everything else.
yeah, so I think that being overseas has a part of it. I think different cultures express emotions in different ways. For example, I spent a lot of time in Asia, and one thing I noticed is like emotions are for like private, and
Yeah.
I'm not very much like that. I'm very much like always showing my emotions, and so that was something that was probably unique for them. But
Okay.
I do think from like a communication standpoint, it is very important to be conscious of those things, but oftentimes it really happens subconsciously. I think it just depends on the environment you were raised in. My parents are also very expressive. My mom is Polish, so she's got that
Okay.
like Slavic spiciness. My dad is German and Mexican, so he's very loud and
Oh,
boisterous. And so I just
that's an
kind of,
interesting mix.
yeah, I kind of just grew up in this
How does
environment.
German and Mexican show up? I don't know.
So my
They seem contradictory to me, but I don't know.
So my grandpa, when he got out of, he was in a prisoner of war camp in France. When he got out, he moved to Canada, and he did ski patrol in Canada for a while. And during the summer months when he wasn't working, he would go down to Mexico for vacation, and he met my grandma there. And then they got married and moved to California, had my dad. Years later, my dad met my mom, and they got married and had me.
Yeah. And then you feel a call towards Asian countries.
I don't know if it's a call necessarily. I've just always been kind of interested in the culture and the media over there. It didn't start taking off within my personal life and career until a couple years back. I never realized that studying those things was possible. I thought that if I went to school, I had to study something professional. And then I kind of just got my eyes opened up to at one of these academic conferences, and all of a sudden people are presenting about anime and K-pop, and I'm like, wait, you can do that? And so I was like, I'm gonna do that. And so that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you said you are fluent in Chinese, so how long have you been learning? Or
So originally, I was interested in Korean. So I self taught myself Korean for a year when I was 19. And then I ended up going to Korea for about 3 or 4 weeks. And that was my very first time ever traveling outside of the country by myself. And when I got back home and was back in school, I was like, I want to learn Korean for real. But my school didn't offer Korean language. The only language they offered was Chinese. And so I thought I would take Chinese to help with the Korean. But then I got really interested in the Chinese language. So I studied Chinese in university for 2 years. And then they sent me to China for an internship for a year. And then that's how I kind of became fluent. Yeah.
yeah, okay. Totally out of my league. My brother has spent. My brother speaks multiple languages and lived in Japan for 8, 9 years,
Mm.
and he lives in Thailand now.
Oh, wow.
But I'm still trying to learn Spanish.
That's okay. I'm part
It's not
Mexican and
my
I don't know
forte.
Spanish. So everybody's like,
It's not
you're
my
you're
forte.
Polish and you're Mexican and you're German, but you speak Chinese. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because of I was having a glance at your channel, so you do come from that K-pop. I saw, what was it, SB19?
So that one's Filipino. That's called Pinoy Pop. So that's a Filipino group. But I started my channel with ATEEZ and Dreamcatcher, which are both K-pop groups.
Okay.
And then it kind of morphed into baby metal and bandmade, and that's J rock. And now it's kind of going this like, it's just spreading. It's spreading.
Yeah. But is it because you started with the culture, but now, or was it always I love the music, or was it more that you wanted the culture, or?
Um, I think that originally how I got into the culture was I used to go to church when I was little, and there was a exchange student from Korea who was going to my church, and that exchange student kind of like opened me up to like the cultural aspects. And that's when I got into the cultural aspects. And when you fall into the cultural aspects, it's very hard to ignore like the music and everything else. And so that's
Okay.
how I transitioned, was through the culture into the music and then into everything else.
Yeah, because you had one video go. Because although I want to talk about the Ren fans, in a way, you'd already had one video go mental.
Yes, yeah, that was
I
the
don't know. That's
SB
not the right word.
viral. It went viral. Yes.
It went viral. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was the SB19 video, and like I say, it's always the videos that I don't expect to go anywhere that out of nowhere all of a sudden I like summon a fandom to my channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was not expecting that at all. It was my first time looking at that group. They have a very popular song, but I decided not to do the popular song, and I did something that had never been requested at all. I just was like, this looks good. I'll just do this one. And so I filmed that, and then yeah, I think it's at like 35,000 views or something right now, which is
Yeah.
it's insane. Yeah.
But so how long ago was that? Because I think
That was in
8 months
February.
or so. That was
Hmm.
February. So yes, beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And what happens after that, though? Once you have a video do that, do you think, oh, I'll just do that group every time, or did you think, no, I need to keep doing other things? Or
So I always keep doing what I'm doing. I try to give whatever the majority of the people on my channel want. I continue doing that. I just add in others. So right now I film 7 to 8 videos a week.
wow,
Yeah, so it's a lot of videos, but it's because I feel like I really need to get a good handle on a group. And some of these groups have years and years and years and years of music that I have to get through. So I'll cycle through certain groups. Like sometimes I'll do every other week, I'll do one group, or sometimes I'll watch enough of a group's discography and then I kind of like file them away for when they come out with something new. Then I'll film something new. But usually, when something like that happens and a trend happens, it's kind of like an opportunity for me to realize, okay, this is something that's popular. This is something people want. So I better do this. And so then I go into it.
Yeah. So so Rennie's recommended to
Mm-hmm.
you by somebody that you think is normally into what, K-pop and different things,
So they
or
normally request Bandmade, which is a J-pop, not J-pop. It's J-rock. It's a Japanese
okay.
rock group of all girls who dress in maid outfits and they play their own instruments, and it's actually really cool. It's really cool. But
Yeah.
they usually only request that one, and this one was kind of just a random, hey, here's this video. If you have time, can you react to
Yeah.
this? And I was like, yeah, sure. And
Yeah.
then I saw it was 9 minutes, and
And
I was like, what am I getting
yeah.
into here?
Yeah, you say that at the beginning of the reaction. And so when you post it, do you know at that point that it's a big group of fans, or are you
I'm
blindsided by this? Or
absolutely blindsided. I tend not to look anything up about the person until later on. So I have no idea. Still, even to this day, I've learned a little bit through the comments that I have read, but I usually tend not to look up the artist, not to look up the history until I can fully appreciate the music. Because for me, it's about the music. And so I want to get a good idea of what the music is like first before I get into who the artist is as a person. But it always
Mhm.
helps if the music is great. Usually the artist is pretty great too. So I haven't yet had anybody that I've like watched and I'm like, oh my gosh, I hate this.
Yeah. And how did you find the comments? Do you have time to check the comments and different things,
It
or
depends. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I'm a PhD student right now, so I've got a lot
okay.
going on. So most of the times I'll at least try to read through the majority of them. I try to like them and comment them. Originally, when I started the channel, I was replying to every single comment, but now that I get thousands of comments, it's so hard to sit down and reply to every single one of them. But every now and then, when I have time, I'll just sit on my computer and start replying to people.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, I know that. I mean, for me, it's a completely new
Mhm.
world. So when the Ren fans were writing comments, it felt like I was getting to know them. Where previously I'd had some comments and people saying, "Oh, this is good," or "This is interesting," but not like a conversation. Not like they were telling me, "Oh, this helped in this particular situation," and I'm now creating and I'm doing this, and it's just like,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when there's a difference between like a regular fan and then like a fandom fan. And I feel like most of the fandom fans that I've met have been super helpful in giving me recommendations and
yeah,
backstories and encouragement and things like that. And then usually the just like the regular fans will like post an emoji or something to help with the algorithm, which is still
yeah,
super, super
that's
helpful.
still nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So, but I think that that level of interaction really helps a lot. And especially makes me excited to get into an artist or a group, depending on which one it is. And so that's always been super nice. I love it when fans post like all these really big backstories. I try to pin them so that like other fans or anybody else who's discovering the music can also learn about the history.
yeah. And do you watch reaction videos, or
Oh yes, yes I do. So
oh,
the whole the so okay, so I started my channel in 2009. And I tried to do reaction videos a long time ago, and I could never figure out how to do the editing. And I mean, this was back in 2009 where technology was still relatively new, at least to me. I was what, like 17. And so I decided to drop it. I kept my YouTube channel though. And then when I got into a certain K-pop group, that was when I started watching the reaction videos because I had already
Mhm.
finished all of their content and I was like, I need something else. I need something else. And so I started watching these reaction videos and was feeling the same things that the reactor was going through. I was
Yeah.
feeling. And I thought that was so special because you can never discover a song for the first time ever again. But when you watch a reaction video, that's the
Mhm.
closest that you can get to rediscovering it and having that
Yeah.
feeling. And so I was like, I want to do that for other people too. Like, I want other people to be able to feel that again. And so that's why I started my channel.
That's very generous of you. I did the reason the Ren fans found me is that I did a video saying I go down the Ren rabbit hole and I'm watching all these reaction videos, but I thought I was the only one. I really thought that, I don't know, I had no idea the whole reaction community world existed. So that's why I wanted to reach out to other reactors, and for me it's fascinating to hear. Well, it's interesting to see you react, but it's also really fascinating for me how you put it into words. And and then as I go down the rabbit hole of finding out a little bit about you, you were saying that you did a PhD in
That's
communications.
correct.
Do
Yes.
you say communication studies? Is that what it's
It's called
called?
communication studies. And then in communication, there's usually two tracks. You've got like the rhetoric and speech track, or you have the media studies track. And so I am in the media studies side. So I study the media.
Yeah, but if you're doing a PhD, do you have your topic? Do you have your thesis or whatever it is?
I haven't started working on my dissertation yet.
Oh, dissertation.
Yes, but I will be starting within the next probably year or so. And the topic for my dissertation is actually going to be, I'm pretty sure I haven't decided yet, but it's going to be Korean dramas, which is like a whole nother side of me.
Well, that was the other thing because obviously when I watch the reaction videos, you get to know the person who's the reactor, but in as you watch more of their videos, they leak out. Does that make sense? It's like, yes, they're giving their opinion on it, but then you find out all these quirks and different things that they're interested in. They make these connections that I would never have known about. And I was thinking, oh, what's she going to bring up? Because you mentioned liking, I think you'd said you did creative writing, and
Mhm.
so you were interested in the lyrics.
Yes.
And I thought, oh, at some point she's going to be talking about the lyrics. She's going to be talking about communication. She's going to be talking about career and oh.
Yeah, but then I go
And
into
I was
Freud.
thinking, and then Freud.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you meant to go with Freud.
Yeah. I
No, but I love that. But that's what I mean about you leaking in a way. It's just like, okay, she's interested in that too, and she's interested in this. Yeah.
yeah, and
No, I love that. I love all the extra
And
bits.
for me, I do everything in one take. I don't ever really stop the camera for anything unless like my dogs or cats are getting into something.
Yeah.
So I make sure that the reaction is always like an honest one, and I don't record any script of what I'm going to say. I literally just word vomit out out into the universe, and then when I edit it, I usually don't edit anything out. I'm just cutting
Yeah.
silences or transitions, and so I feel like sometimes. One thing that happens sometimes is like if I have technical difficulties, those always stay in my videos because I will never restart a music video. It will, I'm just like, we're gonna bulldoze through this
Yeah.
because you can't watch part of the music video and then if you have something happen go back to the beginning because then it's not like really a reaction video. So that's also something that
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people who don't do reaction videos don't fully understand at first. It's like I can't stop. Once it's going I
Yeah.
cannot stop.
Yeah. No, the only thing I saw, there's a somebody else that I interviewed called Jess from Film Finds, and she did a high ren, but she called it, I think it was high ren. She called it an analysis, and she says I've already seen it, so I can't do a reaction video, but I can do an analysis because I've watched all these other reaction videos, and now I've had time to process it, and now I've got loads to say. And I found that really interesting. I know it's not strictly a reaction video,
Mhm.
but I still found it really interesting.
Yeah, no, and then that's a perfect distinction of reaction and analysis. And then that's something that we do in like academia all the time. You know, when you
Yeah,
really actually dive into the artifact or whatever it is you're studying, and you look at all the different little elements, because like in the high ren video, there is so many things that I couldn't think to say right away. But
yeah,
now that I've
yeah,
had time to process it and watch it over a couple of times, I'm like, oh, I should have talked about that. Oh, I should have talked about that. Certain lyrics, certain things with
yeah,
lighting, certain little aspects of like where the camera was at and how it was moving. There's so many things to dissect about a media example or like a video. And so it is hard sometimes because I feel like sometimes people do want an analysis, but you can't
yeah.
really do an analysis and a reaction at the same time. So, I mean, that would be something that's super interesting to take a look at, though.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I say, as somebody who watches the videos, I'm interested in hearing like what direction you go off on. I mean, I know Jess was talking particularly about she loves films and cinema, and she was saying about the setup and how that reminds her of another film and a different genre,
Mhm.
and I was just thinking, that's amazing to me. That's exactly how I want to geek out and learn more.
Well, and I think
So
that's something that's the reason why reactors are so popular right now, because each reactor brings something different, a new perspective
yeah,
based off of their own background that somebody can identify. There's always somebody that I can identify with that person and bring something new, a new perspective to the table. And I think that's why this whole reaction video, I don't know what you want to call it. It's like a wave has been happening. It's not just about the affect and the emotions, but it's also about the connection to connect to different audience groups.
yeah, yeah. I think years ago I must have seen reaction videos before, but it literally was just a pow, wow. It wasn't really a conversation, but
Right,
now it seems to be something else
right.
completely. I've got a question I want to ask you though. In terms of in terms of speaking, because my background is that I was shy and that I was trying to hit record and build confidence, do you feel like you're censoring yourself or do you feel comfortable? How do you feel when you're doing this?
I've never really been that shy, if I'm being honest. When I was little, so I did ballet for 15 years growing up when I
Oh,
was
wow.
little. So I'm used to performing in front of large audiences. I think when I was little, the biggest audience we performed in front of was like 10,000 people. And so I never really grew up being that shy to talk to people. When I lived in China, I also did a couple of TV programs where I was on the news and I filmed some commercials over there. And so the camera has never really bothered me either. I think for me, it was just figuring out what flow worked for me to make it comfortable. Like, if you look at my very first video compared to now, you can see that there's like a gradual change, and I feel much more comfortable. And I have my routine and how I open my videos and I end them. And so, having those routines has really helped me to settle into basically Alexa takes a look.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Ah, dear me. I noticed when you did your birthday and you were saying, oh, and I've studied Chinese and I'm doing a PhD and I'm also learning Korean and I'm also doing this. And I just thought, this is this thing about what I wanted to do when I made the channel was find my people.
Mhm.
I wanted to find people that love to learn and were interested in different things and were completely okay in learning something from scratch and were sort of self motivated, and some people who are creative. So, do you have a goal for your channel in terms of what you want?
Not re-
Or have you even noticed that? Do you feel like they're people like you?
I do feel like there are people like me. I know that I have like a pretty strong community of people who are regulars on my channel that I know by name, that I talk to on a regular basis, that I would consider honestly consider friends. and they've been with me for a long time since the channel started. And so I do think I have built a community. I'm not sure if I had any target in mind though when I was doing
No.
this. I was just like, I'm just going to do this as a hobby. If something happens with it, then great. If not, then I can at least watch my own reactions and then go through like all of the things that I want to go through again in the future. And I never ever expected it to get to what it is today at all. Like that was beyond my imagination. I mean, just in February, I was like under 1,000 subscribers, and
Yeah.
now it's mind boggling.
Yeah. Congratulations. Do you have plans to live in Asia anywhere or?
No, I don't really have any plans to live there, but I do have plans to visit there eventually
Mhm.
again because I've lived in China for a year. I lived in Japan for half a year, and I've been to Korea before, but I would like to do some research in terms of like audience analysis with Korean media in the United States and in Korea. So, I think I'll eventually go there to do research, but in terms of living, probably not. I've got too many animals that I'll have to haul with me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like it sounds like you're super busy. So how much longer of the PhD have you got?
So I just started a year and a half ago. So I have about 3.5 years left.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Wow. I don't know what to say about that. I don't think I could commit to that kind of learning. I just
I did not know it was going to be like this. I kind of went in blind. I didn't ever expect I would get a
okay.
PhD either. I was getting my master's degree in professional communication. And the only reason I did it was because where I worked offered me a scholarship. And so I was like, well, I'll get it just to get it. And I'll get the cool gown with the long sleeves, and my mom will be proud of me. And so I said, okay, I'll do a master's. And then I ended up doing my master's, and the director of the program was like, you should consider getting a PhD. I think you'd be a good candidate for one. And I was like, no. I was like, no. And then I was looking it up, and they have really cool hats when you get a PhD. And I was like, maybe I want the hat. And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay, we'll do it.
No, that's amazing. I've heard a lot of people that talk about PhDs before doing their masters, but then after the masters, they're like, no, no, I'll wait a little while.
Yeah,
So you've just dived
I
straight in.
did.
I think
Yes.
that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Would you ever consider having another channel that was you speaking Chinese or anything else like
I mean,
that?
I wouldn't mind doing it. I don't know how big the market would be for something
Yeah.
like that because I don't remember if YouTube was banned in China or not. I think it might be
Oh,
because
okay.
it's part
Yeah.
of Google. And so I think the only way that you can watch it is if you use a VPN. But I mean, I wouldn't mind doing something like that. A long time ago, I used to do um, live streaming on this app. Well, it's pretty popular now. It's called Douyu. And it's basically like a Chinese version of TikTok, even though TikTok is also
Yeah.
technically kind of Chinese, but it was like specifically for China. And so I did live streams on there where I would speak Chinese, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind doing it.
Yeah.
Or like maybe even doing like a teaching thing where I could teach Chinese through like music videos or something. I'm always open to new things. I love to just try new things everywhere here and there.
Yeah. Which which leads me to something I mentioned just before I hit the cam. So if anybody's watching, I did ask Alexa if I was allowed to ask this question. The whole neuro spicy type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The reason being is that Ren fans have said to me that a lot of the things that I say, and I draw cartoons and I talk about communication and feeling misunderstood and different things like that, they were saying that it sort of screams neurospicy and what am I? And then they were also saying about themselves and how they relate. So I asked you the question how you feel, or do you relate to neurospicy? Do you? It's because you're so curious and interested in learning. That's what I see in that world.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know whether you relate to that at all.
Well, I definitely do. And I've also definitely been told certain things too. For me, it's always kind of been a part of my life to be curious. I mean, when I was younger, I loved to read, so much so that my parents had to take away all of my books at night, or else I would try to read them in the dark, and I would end
Yeah.
up falling asleep with books on my face when I was little. And so I've always been the curious type. I mean, just like all of these memories are flooding from way back when. Like I had rock collections and I would be washing my rocks and learning about rocks and things like that and bathing them, and I would name them as, yeah. So I'm probably, yeah, no, I definitely relate to that for sure. But I
Yeah.
think that it's difficult nowadays to really pinpoint things like that. I think that I feel a certain way about modern medicine. I very
Okay.
much take a Foucauldian stance on modern medicine, where I feel like
Sorry, a what stance? I didn't
Foucauldian,
catch.
Michel Foucault, who was a French philosopher, he wrote a couple of books, but he came from a family of surgeons, and he basically critiqued the medical world as being a power structure that suppressed and repressed people who were not as powerful. And so obviously that includes women. And so I think that that's part of the way I feel about it is oftentimes people go to doctors and they tell them all of these things that are happening, and I feel like doctors don't take them seriously always. It doesn't even matter if you're a woman or a man or whatever. It doesn't get taken seriously, and I think that's why a lot of things end up going undiagnosed, and
Hmm.
especially with mental health, because mental health has not been taken seriously until like recently, within the past, what, 20 years maybe. And
Hmm.
so that's something that's I always consider too. But I don't know, for me, being the way that I am, it it can be difficult because I'm always, I mean, I have a whole closet full of crafts that I have started and not finished. I have crocheting, knitting. I have like the little carpet making stuff. I am all over the map when it comes to that. But honestly, I think that's one of my strongest traits. It's like I know a little bit about a lot of different things.
Yeah. I don't know how you have any time to do any of those things.
I have always been pretty good at managing my time. I have about 4 or 5 different planners for each aspect of my
Okay.
life, and I write everything down. Every single day, I write out a list of things I need to do, when I'm going to do them, and
Yeah.
then I order them. And yeah, I'm a Virgo too, so that's very Virgo like, where I'm
I
like
don't
planner, planner, planner.
I don't know much about Virgos, I'm afraid. All I know is that I write everything down, but I write it all down on scraps of paper that I found. And so I have like like literally in front of me now, there's a huge pile like that of all these ideas and things that I'm going to do. And I sometimes I hear a word and I just like the word and I think I want to research that word. Yeah, I mean, it just screams the whole
Oh
neurospicy.
yeah, I definitely do
I
too.
can't believe I didn't realize till now.
Even my phone, like I specifically got this phone because it has a pen, you could just like jot down
Yeah,
notes. And so I've got so many notes on my phone of just random phrases that I hear that I just like and I might use in a book someday, because I still plan on writing books eventually, like creatively. I
yeah,
just, for right now, that's on hold while I am doing all this academic stuff.
yeah. So would it be fiction that you'd like to
Yeah.
write? Yeah. No, because I've written 8 books
Oh,
now,
really?
but it's funny because that's the thing you were talking about. Your studies are communication studies, but based on you love the subject and studying it. But I was sorry, is that not right?
I mean,
No, did you have?
it was more like it was chance that I got into
Okay,
communications. So it was when I lived in China, I met the director of the communications department, and then he was the one who basically pitched, like, "Hey, you should come here. It will help with your job." And then back then, I was working a corporate job, doing the whole corporate hustle, climbing the ladder, trying to, I don't know, work the 9 to 5 life. And so that's what I was doing. And so I was like, okay, I'll go into communications. But then that's when I took that turn from being like corporate communications and social media to popular culture now.
Okay.
So it was like
Yeah. Because
happenstance.
yeah, because of I know somebody else that was studying communications and they were looking at the theory. I was looking at communications and speaking because I was struggling. Like it was, I didn't know how to find the help.
Mhm.
I just felt misunderstood a lot and things like that. And I was like, I don't understand. And then for a long time, I thought to myself, if I find the right words, then I'll be understood. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
think
like,
that a lot of people don't realize how difficult communication actually
yeah,
is. When you look at like
yeah,
the model of two-way communication where you have a sender and a receiver of a message,
yeah,
when you encode your message and then send it to the receiver, to the other person, it goes through a series of filters, not just from
yeah,
yourself, but from the outside world. That's called noise. And then when the receiver gets your message, they have to decode it. And they're going to decode
yeah,
it based off of their own personal experiences and their own filters. And so the oftentimes the message that you say or send to somebody is never going to be received the intended
yeah,
way that you want it to, simply by that
yeah.
fact. And so, yeah, it is really hard to communicate. I mean, even if you have the right words, that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody's going to actually
Oh,
get what you
I
say.
really tried.
Mm-hmm.
I spent about 10 years thinking it's because I'm not expressing myself well. I need to have the right words. I need to stop doing ums and ahs. I need to do this. I need to do it. And then at the end of it all, it was like, people are still misunderstanding. And I've just started doing a comedy writing
Mm-hmm.
course. And because part of the cartoons that I do are words with the cartoons, but a lot of it was about, oh, it can be fun. The misunderstanding bit is where the comedy and the humor and I was thinking I need to get friends with misunderstandings. So
Yes. Yeah, no, and I think that that's a part of communication as a whole because it's not just word choice and things like that. It's also the face. It's also your nonverbal. It's also your
yeah, yeah,
behavior. It's a lot of different things that go into communication that makes it so beautiful and also hard.
yeah. I know when I was working with people with English as a second language,
Mm.
they used to say to me, I said, what would happen if there was a misunderstanding or a mistake? They would say, oh, I'd just work harder. I'd try harder. And I was like, oh dear. How do I break it to
I
them?
know, I know.
I said, aren't you married? Don't you know what it's like?
Yeah,
There's always misunderstandings.
that's true. That's so
So,
true.
is there anything that I haven't asked you? So I'm just having a quick look. Um, I think you said at one point you were an emo girl at heart. I
Yes.
don't know what emo really is. Sorry.
No, so there was this whole trend back in like the 2000, early 2000, well, late 2000, 2010-ish era. Basically, it was with like young children. It was with teenagers, usually between the ages of like 14 to like 19. And it was the kind of music that was very heavy rock, alternative, screamo, grunge, and we all dressed a certain way. We had really dark hair and dark makeup, and it
Yeah.
stood for
I
being
had a feeling it was,
emotional, so emo.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I had a feeling. I was thinking, I don't think it's goth, but I think it's kind of
It's
close-ish.
like a sub, like a branch
Okay.
away from goth. So goth was usually more into like, I don't know, like what are those artists like Marilyn Manson type thing. Like the style was different with goth between like emo and scene. And that was the other like little branch off was emo and then scene. And like the emo and scene kids had like the spiky hair and like the striped black and white clothes with the skinny jeans. And it was
Okay.
a whole cultural moment back then. And I
Yeah.
mean, it still kind of exists. I've seen younger kids on like TikTok who are trying to like revive it. And I'm like, please, no, don't revive it. Like the music, yes, but not the style.
Yeah.
Please leave that in the past.
No, I was trying to picture you and I was thinking, okay, she's this emo girl at heart. That's what she said. And then she's talking about K-pop and then this baby rock. What was it?
Baby metal.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. All these different things. And I was like, Okay.
Well, so how I grew up is I grew up with like a lot of classic rock music from my dad. My dad loved Iron Maiden and Styx and Boston and Journey and Heart. And so I grew up with a lot of classic rock music. And then as I got older, I kind of stuck with the music. I never used to like rap at all. I hated country music. I was not super into pop, but I did like European like techno, like Cascada type stuff, and I think I got that from my mom's side. And so I did like that kind of music, but then I always really just stayed within the rock genre, especially as I transitioned into like my emo phase, where it was like A Day to Remember, Bring Me the Horizon, all of those really heavy groups. And then after I got out of that, I got into like dubstep and a lot of house and trance and techno music. And then from there, that's where the transition happened to like K-pop and all of that. So
Okay.
it was a whole musical
You've gone
journey.
quite a route.
Yes.
I've noticed that a lot of people are suggesting different music to me, but also I was concerned that maybe I'd be like the oldest fan in this world. And they were saying, no, 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 there's loads of us and we're finding music again. And, so if I was to follow you as a reactor, yes, I may come because of Ren,
Mhm.
but then you introduced me to other people. And then I was speaking to somebody called Nicoletta, and she talks about Harry Mack. Have you heard of him?
No, I
Or
haven't.
I haven't listened to these people, but you just start hearing the
Hmm.
names, and I guess that after a while of hearing the same names, you get curious and think, right, now I'm going to explore.
Yeah.
But I was so out of the loop.
Mm.
I was so wife, mom, normal life that I wasn't listening to the music. So it's been really good.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason kind of why I started the channel too, was because I had been out of the music scene for a while. COVID happened, everything
Okay.
was shut down. I had just gotten out of my corporate job and transitioned back into the life of like being a scholar and an academic. And so I was kind of like shut off from the world a lot. And so I was like, maybe I can find new music through what people request to me. And so that's kind of part of the other part of why I started the channel
Yeah.
was to expand my musical horizons and tastes and try new things.
Yeah.
Mhm. But you should
So
never worry about
loads of
age.
success.
Never worry about age and being a fan.
I know. I think loads of people said that to
Mhm.
me. I think I just felt a little bit self conscious, even dipping a toe into the world. It was super new,
Mhm.
and so, and like you, I didn't do the edits. I just spoke and said, okay, maybe I'm kind of the oldest person here, and people were really sweet about it. And a lot of people were coming to the music for the same reason I was.
Mhm.
They were just curious and wanted, like you say, to get back and to open up the world, to open up their world to those kind of things again.
Mhm.
So it's been all good fun. What have I missed? What have I missed? Because I'm noticing the time. What have I
I
missed?
don't. I don't think you missed anything, unless there's something that comes to your mind that you want to ask too.
No, I
I'm an
think
open book.
I think you said you've got your YouTube channel, you've got Instagram.
Mhm.
I think I saw Patreon, but is that just a small? Is that something you focus on or not
No,
really?
I don't really focus on Patreon. All I use Patreon for is the videos that end up getting blocked because like I said, I
Oh,
don't ever know when a video is going to be blocked until I upload it. And so I
yeah.
don't edit it as if it's going to be blocked because I don't know. And so that's why I have my Patreon is just for videos that get blocked for copyright.
Okay.
And I make them free for everybody. Any of the memberships are completely optional. I get like financially, it's a tough time for everybody right now.
Yeah.
And like I said, this is always a hobby and fun for me. And so I don't want anybody to have to pay to watch my content ever. And so I have Patreon for free. And then there's like other little things that if you want to and have the ability to donate, there's coffee and what else? I think that's it. Patreon and coffee are like the only two things. But my main thing is the YouTube channel.
Yeah. Which is 1 year old.
Yes. Yes, 1 year and like 1 week
Who knows
now.
where you'll be?
Yeah, who
Who
knows?
knows when you'll be when you're two?
Let's reconvene in a year.
In a year's time again,
Yeah.
you're now 2 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you'll still be doing the PhD. You'll
Hmm.
probably be fluent in Korean by then.
Oh goodness, I
So
don't know. I don't know. We're trying. I have like
I
my whole
cannot,
like Korean book
I
here.
cannot believe you're doing a PhD and learning a language
Yeah.
at the same time. That
Yeah.
just blows my mind.
I think that my
So
my way of handling life has always been to pile as much upon myself as I possibly can and see how far I can go.
right. Okay. Well, watch this space. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you so
I don't know what
much.
to add to that. Watch this space. See how far she can go.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling maybe I should do like 1.5 years and not 2 years because you're just going to be going
No,
crazy.
I don't know about
But
that.
anyway, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much
your
for having
time.
me.
Thank you. I'm going to click stop on the recording. Take care.